Hello everyone and welcome back. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about a potential option other than going to court. And I say this tongue-in-cheek because 99 times out of 100 when a family calls us, we're really at the point where the only thing that has any hope of working is legal intervention. And what I mean is getting a judge to give the family the legal authority, the power, the right to make the decision to save their loved one, because their loved one has been sick for years and years and years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, sometimes even longer. And at that point, this individual's brain has long since been kidnapped. And what I mean by that is it looks like your loved one, it sounds like your loved one, they walk like your loved one, but they're not acting like your loved one. And what's really going on here is that they are being driven by a behavioral health issue, mental illness, drug use, and they cannot possibly make the decision to save themselves, even though that seems completely illogical, right? That they would live like this, that they would act like this, they would make decisions that objectively seem completely irrational. It's because they have a disease and their brain, their very soul has been kidnapped. And so look, if they can't make the decision to save themselves, who can? Who will? If the family doesn't make it, then the state's probably going to do it. And I promise you, you won't be happy with those results. But not every single case warrants the commitment to go to court. But look, if your loved one's obviously been sick for a long time, then yeah, it's probably going to be a legal intervention. But in this particular instance, I got a call from a family. They had a 31, 32-year-old daughter. This was a couple months ago. And really, this had only been going on for about 2 or 3 months where her behavior had changed. She'd started to use marijuana. She wasn't showing up for work. She was sleeping a lot during the day. She was up, good portions of the night. Her life had become very secretive. She wasn't sharing with the family who she was spending time with. And the family was concerned. And I said, if you really want to take action and jump on top of this, I think we could consider filing for guardianship over her, or maybe even a Marchman Act, or both. Both together is powerful. And they said, I don't think we're quite ready to do that. I don't think we're ready to drag our daughter into court. I said, okay, here's a sort of more gentle, a softer option. And I referred them to a clinician that I work with. And I'm a big fan of, if possible, of taking the path of least resistance. And it doesn't come up that often because we're typically the last port of call for a family. But in this particular instance, this just seemed like the kind of case where we weren't quite ready to do this, right? They weren't ready. And I said to them, look, my gut tells me that we're not quite there yet, but I think this is the time to start taking action. Here's a clinician that I work with. Let's see if there's some type of intervention outside of court where we can get her to go to treatment in a clinically appropriate facility, and she's willing to stay there long enough. And if you've watched my other content, you know that I am a firm believer that it's a year-long program. Not that you have to hire us for a year, but you got to keep somebody in recovery for a year. And even if she's only been using for 3 months, 6 months, whatever it is, I'd still say you got to keep her in recovery for a year. And I'll defer to the clinicians what that comprises of in terms of treatment, but you got to keep her in recovery for a year. Now, somebody who's been only using for 3 months is going to be probably clinically easier to keep in recovery for a year than someone who's been, suffering for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years or longer. That's a much more challenging case. It's like the difference between somebody who's just been diagnosed with cancer and somebody who, has been suffering for a couple of years. And trust me, I went through this with a family member and it was horrible to see. But it's very much like watching somebody who has a behavioral health issue suffer for years and years without getting help. It's just devastating. So my heart breaks for all of the families that call us. But sometimes if there's a more gentle and softer approach, then I'm going to tell you that. My team's going to tell you that. But if we can get her into treatment voluntarily and she balks at doing what needs to be done, if there's a medical, prescriptions that need to be taken and she don't want to take them, if she walks out, if she's not compliant, then we're going to have a very different conversation. And that conversation is probably going to include, listen, she's obviously past the point where she can make the decision to save herself. It's time for the family to step in and do what needs to be done to save her, because in a couple of years, it's going to be much more challenging. She's going to be that much more resistant to treatment, and it's going to take longer for the light bulb to go off. So are there other options? Yes. And if you want to talk about those, if you want a referral to somebody who I think can help you with that, and we stay out of the legal system, I'm happy to make that referral. My team will give you the name of some folks that we like to work with and have gotten great results. But here's the flip side. If it doesn't work, okay, and you know I'm not one to sugarcoat this stuff, then I'm going to tell you what needs to be done. Because if you let this go on like any disease, it will eventually take the host. And you know what I mean by that. So with that said, I appreciate you tuning in. Thank you for the comments that you post, the questions that you ask. I'm really grateful. This content is for you. I put it out there for you. I want you to figure out if you even need me. Anyway, thank you. I'd love a thumbs up. I'd love a subscription to our channel, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.